Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Joni Misiak. Today I want to share about something that I've had a really hard time with in general sometimes, and it's seeing the good. With all the stuff going on in the world, sometimes it's hard to see the good when you see the bad, right? So today I want to share about things that, little habits and things you can think about to kind of look more optimistic at life instead of, the glass half empty. I really do try to look at the glass half full, but some days, it's really hard to see where that other half is. So today I'm going to share about things that you can help make things look brighter. Seeing the good. So when I said I have a problem, part of the thing to do is stop comparing yourself to others. And I have done that in the past myself. And nowadays, if I catch myself thinking about ooh, they're doing this, instead of making me feel bad, I just reevaluate. I look at what I have. It gives me pause. Instead of being mad or frustrated, or, their grass is greener than mine, I just sit and reflect ooh, why did that come up for me? Why am I feeling that way? And then usually I can get to the bottom of it pretty quickly. However, that wasn't always the case. So we can see the good in other people's lives easier than we can see our own. And it's because we're living it, every day in, day out. And one of the biggest things, in my opinion, for this is get off social media, or at least take a break now and then. I'm not saying delete all accounts or anything like that, but a big one for me was stop comparing myself to other people's lives on social media, because they're only showing you what they want to show you. It's not their whole life. And one of the biggest things that I'd find is having conversations with people when you're just being open and honest and be like, oh, they're going through things too. So it's realizing that everybody's human and we all have challenges and struggles from time to time. But we don't always see it, right? We're in it. We're in our own lives. So we see things and the struggles and the frustrations. And sometimes it's really, really hard to find the good in that. But when you stop comparing, it can really, really help you. And you can go inward more and be and it's not even don't beat yourself up if you do compare. Just use it as a pause button. Oh, I'm comparing myself. Why? And just pause and reflect on that. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Just use it as a tool to help you see more good in your own life. And it doesn't have to be nah, my life is better. It's not that either, right? We all have, again, ups and downs. So it's not about you're better than me or I'm better than you. None of that. We're all on our own personal journeys. If you think about it, we're all in our own cars, doing our own thing, going to our own destinations. And the more we stay in our own lane, the better it is. That doesn't mean we can't help somebody out if they're at the side of the road. Or hope that somebody helps us out when we're at the side of the road. Because we can be a community without being tied to somebody else's hopes, dreams, or comparing ourselves. And I hope that really makes sense. Anyway, so a big, big one is stop comparing yourself to other people and their lives. Because the moment you think, oh, my life is less than so-and-so's, or I'm not as good as so-and-so, you forget to look at the good you already have, because you're looking at what you don't have or what you'd like to have instead of what's already there. Another one is complaining. And honestly, I have struggled with this, especially recently, because of healing my own gut and things like that. I just find that I haven't been able to manage my emotions as much. So I'm not always tapped in my intuition and my own, I'm not always grounded as much as I'd like to be. So for stop complaining, it's really just being mindful of your words, your thoughts, and your actions. So it comes down to being mindful of how you're showing up in your life, to yourself and to others. And it's trying to look for the gold within the rocks, or the beautiful ness in all the muck. I try, I always, when I'm going through something, and even with my healing journey, I'm starting to see it as a beautiful thing instead of this thing I hate. Because it's what is it here to teach me? What am I here to, what am I, what do I need to learn? And it's asking the right questions. Why is this showing up? Or if I'm having a bad day, I'd be why am I, what's going on? I try my best to catch myself in those moments now. Is it always easy? No, because complaining can be contagious, where you start complaining and then you get more complaining, and then you can actually spread complaining around. Have you noticed that when somebody complains, you can complain back, or everybody starts complaining? I do find though, the more, like I said, I'm grounded. So if I've meditated and I've been really attuned to my own being, so practicing my yoga and just moving my body and just taking care of me in a loving way, I'm better at catching other people's complaints. And then I can deflect them or change them. As in if somebody's complaining, then I'll just lovingly guide them in a new direction. And I can be more mindful of my own complaining. I'm oh, wait a second, here I go again, kind of thing. So it's being more mindful about that. And it really just helped to see the bigger picture too. So when I was saying how I'm looking at my healing journey, and it's instead of getting mad about it all the time, where I'm oh, I can't eat this. It's I'm actually very grateful. Because my kids sometimes oh, poor mom, you can't eat sugar. It's no, I'm so glad I can't without feeling crappy. I finally got over this whole feeling I need sugar. I don't need sugar anymore. And that's really freeing. So when you see the bigger picture, when you see when I go, wow, my body, I get to heal my body in quite the level. And I'm getting to learn a lot about things in myself. You get to see the bigger picture. You get to see things. And then it's also comes into thinking about just accepting, like I said, accepting my healing journey. This is happening to me. This is something I'm living. I could either be frustrated and growly and upset about it the whole time, or I can embrace it and learn to gracefully enjoy the process, or as gracefully as I can. I do have ups and downs, but it's being, focusing on being graceful through it and then accepting what is. There's things in life that we can change. We can change our thoughts. We can change our beliefs. We can change our clothes. We can change, a lot of our things. We can change our mindset and our attitude. But there's a lot of things in our life that we can't change. I can't go back in time and change the way I treated my body 5-6 years ago or whenever this happened. I'm learning to figure out where it's come from. And there's been some big aha moments. And it's not just one moment in my life either. It's been years of things. And it's wow. But it's accepting it. I can't go back and be oh, Jody, don't eat that. Or, manage your stress better. Or figure out how to sleep when your kid's not sleeping through the night. Things that I might not have control over. But I can't go back and change the time. So it's accepting what is now. And that doesn't mean you have to live there for long. Just need to accept it enough so you can make changes. Because if you're not, for one, a big one is, I always talk about this, awareness is major important. So if you're not even aware that you're being negative or that you're always looking at the glass half empty, then you can't change it. But hopefully, since you're here, you at least are aware. And let's jump to acceptance, accepting what is. Because it doesn't mean that you have to live with it, but you have to accept and acknowledge it so it can be changed. If, we ignore something, or if we just I'm just going to look over here, or I'm going to stick my head in the sand, You can't change anything. Like, I could have lived with this candida overgrowth for years. Maybe not, though. I feel like my body might have like really failed me. Um, but anyways, let's not go there. Negative. Anyways, I could have went down a road of no change. But once I knew what was going on with my body, I could accept, well, I had accepted in many different layers. This sometimes acceptance isn't black and white either, or it is, but it's layered like an onion. And so sometimes acceptance happens in layers, where first you have to accept, just your reality of where you are, and then accept what you've done in the past that led you here, and accept how you showed up like recently and how you've, behaved or whatever it is that's showing up, or how you've treated somebody or yourself. And you have to pull away the layers of acceptance sometimes. And I know from my own journey, it's been quite the layering experience, right? It's like getting mad at myself for doing things. Like, oh, first I need to accept, like this part can happen or can continue for a while, depending on how deep rooted these negative beliefs can be and things like that. But acceptance, like, let's talk about acceptance from a negative point of view, or like an optimistic point of view, is just accepting where you're at mood wise. So maybe you're not having the best of days. You wake up or your alarm didn't go off, or whatever it is. Let's find something. You just wake up and you're not in a good mood. Maybe you didn't have a good night's sleep. Let's go with something simple. Happens to the best of us, right? You wake up. Well, you can accept that you're in a bad mood. Be like, okay, I'm not. First, let's be aware. Oh, I'm aware I'm not in the best of moods. You're a little growly around the edges, a little like, aware. Okay, now accept that you woke up in a bad mood. Okay, I'm a grump today. What can I do about that? What can I do to change that? Maybe go for a walk, yoga, meditate, call a friend, listen to some music that's uplifting. That is one of the biggest things I do when I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't really have energy to start this day. Or, oh, do I really want to get out of bed? It's finding something to flip that switch. Get you out of that funk. We can all get funky. Not the funky chicken or anything, the funky dance, out of a funk. How do you get yourself out of there? Well, first you have to accept that you're in it. And then ask yourself, what can I do to change this? Because here's a fun thing. You have in your hands the tools to change your perspective, to change your mood, to change your day. You can't always change the events or how things are going to happen or how people are going to perceive you. But you can change the way you handle it and the way you feel and experience that day. You have the power to change how you feel. It's not always easy, but you can change it if you're willing to accept that you're in that mood, and then ask yourself, how can I get out of there? Then lean into those beautiful tools to help you. Like you can run or jump or swing on your kids' playground, like whatever it is, dance, shout, scream. But it's accepting it and then asking yourself, how can you move on? How can you, no, not how can you move on, but how can you change it? And then another one is, and this can be tricky, is expectations. Or even just long-term achievement. So I'll break this down into two different things. So first is we can have expectations of our day or of an experience. So say you plan this party and you have this idea of what the party's going to look like. Like we're going to do this and this and this and this and this. But it doesn't go that way. And then you're like, oh, that was a sucky party. Instead, you could look at the party and be like, I just want to enjoy my friends and just have fun and just focus on the feeling of it And then for the most part, you're gonna have that happen unless you have like some major thing happen and blow up, right? Because you're focusing on fun, and then that's what you'll focus on the whole party. Fun and just celebrating. But when we have too many expectations about something, our day, our job, the people in our lives, I've been caught on that where I expect other people to, remember things like me or plan things like me, and that's not fair to them. So it's not putting expectations on others, but also not expectations on ourselves or events in our day or our week or month. And then let's go even deeper, long-term achievement, where you're like striving for something, like I'm going to get this job promotion, or I'm going to finish this project, or I'm going to go through yoga teacher training, and like but like you don't feel like you can be happy until you achieve it. And then once you achieve it, you don't even celebrate it. You just keep moving to the next achievement, and you're jumping from one achievement to the next, hoping for it to bring you joy. But the problem is happiness is an inside job. So if you're searching for happiness based on your achievements or what you're doing with your life, you're never really going to truly feel happy. And the fun thing is about these like jumping from achievements too is that a lot of the time then you get like lost in this success, like wanting to be successful, that you never become successful, or even worse, that when you become successful, it's not enough and you need more and more and more. So when we're looking for outside events to make us happy or feel successful or feel, anything, whatever you feel, like put in the blank, I want to feel, XYZ. When you're looking for it on the outside of your being, outside world, you're just kind of bandaging it up. Like it's just a short-term feeling. And then a big one to keep in mind is embracing life's ups and downs and just knowing that it happens. So when my week is going really, really good, I celebrate that. And I'm like, wow, I'm having a really, I'm stuck in, not stuck. I'm in the flow and I feel really good and life is good. And I'm like, yay, I'm flowing this week. Like things are good. And maybe it's not even for the whole week. Maybe it's a day or maybe it's an hour. I'm just tapped in. I'm grounded. I'm feeling like me. I say the things my kids need to hear. I pay attention to their moods and I know exactly it's that tapped in, I'm solidly tapped into my intuition. And I know exactly what to say. And then there's days that aren't so good. And those are days that I'm like, ooh, I could just be miserable and lay in bed all day. Or watch TV all day, or and there are days if I'm feeling like a cold or something, I'll definitely allow myself time to just be. But if I do that, I'm very mindful of doing that. But it's knowing that okay, I'm having a bad day and I own it. Okay, so my husband and I both work from home. And there was one time that I was, I think I even did my morning routine, yoga, and I still was in a funk. And I knew I was in a funk. And previous times I wouldn't have messaged my husband. He works downstairs. He has an office set up there. And I'm on the main floor, and that's where my office is. And that's where the coffee maker is. So that's where we meet up a lot of the time, in the kitchen at the coffee maker. But sometimes before I would blow up at him because I was having a bad day. But I've gone better. So if I'm in a funk, what I do now is I text him. I'm like, I can't touch base right now. I am not in the best of moods. So eventually I'll be able to talk to him and we'll touch base, but I need that coffee, or I need another hour or two to touch base. I also recently, actually it was today, we met up and I didn't know that he was coming up the stairs, but I was in my own head and I was creating and I was in my own world. And then it's reading a book and then your inside world or your outside world comes inside your world. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, it's like one book character jumping into another book. So I was in my own world, my own head creating. I just go outside to get coffee, and so did he. But I'm like, like I was kind of thrown apart because I didn't know he was coming up. And that's not his fault. And it's not like, I just was in my own head creating though. So sometimes I was like, I needed to protect my energy. So I told him, I was like, after I was like, like I was frazzled. I was really, really frazzled. And I said after, I'm like, I wasn't trying to avoid you. Like when I stay in my office, when I hear you come up and get coffee and I don't come out and say hi, it's not because it's you. I go, I'm protecting my energy. I'm protecting my creative zone, the energy, where I'm at right now. So if I'm tapped into something, I need to stay there for a little bit. And then I need to get out of it. So I hope that makes a little sense. But coming from a creative person like me, I sometimes need to I'm in that world of creating. I'm like, maybe I'm already formulating a podcast or an article or an email in my brain. Like in my head, it's going, it's percolating. And I don't have time to write it down yet. He's used to that too, where I'm like, can't talk right now. I need to write something down. Like it happens. But this time it was like an energy shift for me, where I'm like in my own energy and creating and things. And then, I met with not that kind of energy. And it was just a really rigid thing. So anyways, ups and downs. It happens. Our days aren't going to be perfect. Usually far from it. That doesn't mean you can't have ideas of what your day looks like, or that you can't be optimistic that your day isn't going to be amazing, or that it will change, that it can change course. Because it can, if you change the way you look at things. Dr. Wayne Dyer, I believe it's Dr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's so beautiful. And that's what it's all about, being optimistic, right? Glass half full or half empty. It's the same thing. It's just the way you're looking at it, your perspective. And that's really what it comes down to. So when you have ups and downs, it's looking at that as your perspective too. Like you could, when life throws you a curveball, you could beat yourself up. You could have like a pity party. I've had those, but like they don't have to last forever. You could be like, oh, this sucks. And you can acknowledge it. Be like, this really sucks right now. But you don't have to live there forever, right? Like I've definitely thrown some pity parties for myself. But now the more I learn and grow and get to know myself better, the faster I can bounce back from those low moments and get better. Now, is it always perfect? Heck no. I just said there's no such thing. But it's recognizing the waves of life, and when you're having a day, good or bad, it's celebrating it all. The things that come up in our lives that are challenges can really be learning, like ways of learning as well. So when I'm having, a moment, or even like, let's bring it back to my healing, my gut, I look at it now going like, this sucks, but what can I learn from it, or what is it teaching me? And it's really important to kind of just change that too. It's like, okay, this is here to help me heal on like quite the level. I remember one year I said, be super fit. Well, this is teaching me how to eat really well and how to take care of my body on quite the levels of things that I've never ever thought of before. So one could argue that I brought this on myself. Anyways, I'm just saying, ups and downs. It's how you look at them. A roller coaster, I hate going up. I really do. My stomach's like in knots, but going down is like, wee, right? But some people might look at it differently. So the down on a roller coaster is, wee, it's lots of fun for me. So life's ups and downs. Same idea, right? Hopefully that's, kind of fun in all the heaviness of, the topics of growth and all the heavy hard stuff, right? Is that when you look at something differently, like I said, it can change. So try to look at things differently, and life is going to have ups and downs. So embrace it and look at ways to learn and celebrate even the down moments. And then it's just focusing on your positive languages too. I remember, just finding words that I try not to say like when somebody asks like, how are you doing? I don't say fine. I don't say good. I used to always be like, I'm amazing. And then that felt fake. A lot of the time now I share exactly how I feel. So sometimes like, oh, my day's I'm struggling a little. However, I'm still feeling really good. Like I'll own how I'm feeling, but also put a pretty positive spin on it. I don't like fine because then that just feels edgy to me, personally speaking. But it's just focusing on your language and being mindful of what you're using. Are you saying things in a nice tone, loving tone? Or are you edgy? Like it's just being mindful of how you're showing up and then your gestures towards that. And I'm trying to figure out, because I've had lots of words that I would use. The whole fake it till you make it thing, I used to do that a lot where I'm like, I'm amazing. And I wasn't. Deep down, I was unhappy. But like for me now, like when a friend asks me, I don't go like, oh, I'm great. If I'm not, I'll be like, oh, like, man, this morning was rough, but like I'm turning it around now or whatever it is. But I do it in a negative, fun way. And I hope that makes sense and that you I'm trying to think what else to put there. I don't like lying, but then I've also found that I don't like oversharing. If like, say I go to the dentist and they're like, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good. Even if I'm not, because I don't need to lay out my whole story. So I'm finding a happy balance now. I used to tell everybody, all the things. But it's just, I don't want to fake it till I make it because that doesn't feel good. But I also don't need to be an open, to every single person in my life. But a friend, like I'll be open and honest. And at the same time, the tone is there and it's loving and it's optimistic. And it's just being mindful of how your body language is. If you're closed off and stuff, then that makes you closed off to your life as well. So just being mindful of just how you're showing up. Vocally and physically. And I'm not going to go too much into that. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. I'm looking at the time and we're almost at the halfway mark. So it's speaking to yourself in a more positive way, regardless of whether you're succeeding or failing, and being optimistic, but also being honest with yourself. And I know that's counterintuitive. Oh my gosh, I can barely say that. Just being positive and then just being aware, like it's a whole bundle of awesome. Where you're speaking to yourself in a loving way. But if you're having a bad day, so think about, okay, you're having a bad day. You could beat yourself up and be all angry and growly and pout, kick the bed, kick the couch, kick the car, whatever, kick everything, pound something. And then like beat yourself up for being mopey and mad and frustrated or having a bad day. Or you could look at it in a different way and be like, how would you do this if you saw a kid having a bad day? Would you have a loving tone? Would you, give them a little hug? Especially if it's your own kid. What would you say to somebody else or to a child? We always can be so negative to ourselves. And then it's also feeling that love that you would do for somebody else and mirroring that body language to what you would do for that person that you would do for yourself. And that's what I'm really meaning here in a long-winded sort of way. It's just being very mindful of how you're showing up tone-wise, word-wise, and physically your body. If your shoulders are up to your ears, you're going to feel stressed out, right? It's taking a deep breath in, exhaling, and bringing them down. And just relaxing a little. And smile. Because everything's better with a smile. I hope this has helped make you a little bit more optimistic And remember, not every day is going to be rainbows and sunshine. It does have to rain sometimes to water the grass and make everything grow. You know, if everything was sunny and rainbow, well, there's rainbow because of the sun and rain. Anyways, we're not going to go into that. Messes up my thing. Anyways, everything can't be rainbows or sunshine and flowers and everything awesome all the time because, you know, it needs rain to grow. Those moments in our lives, the downs, the things, the obstacles, the things that make us, you know, that challenge us and make us struggle a little, they help us grow. And when you look at them from a place, that perspective, that they're helping you grow or learn something about yourself, the more you can see life more optimistically. And the grass on your side will start looking greener. And heck, man, you'll have to mow it. So then that's another problem. No, I'm kidding. Jokes. I'm kidding. But you'll start looking at your side, your laneway, in a little bit brighter light, a little bit happier, and be like, yeah, my life is okay. Or even better, my life is good. Or even a step better, my life is amazing and fabulous. Yes. So then when you do have a rough day, it's like, it's okay. Just one day. Just 1 hour, just one whatever. Or maybe it's a week, or maybe something comes in and it really takes you for a loop. The more you lean into that optimisticness and embrace the awesomeness in your life, those lows won't look so low. And you'll balance it all out. So again, being aware of your attitude, your mood, you know, looking at things half full instead of seeing things half empty instead of half full. Awareness first. Then acceptance, because you can't change something you can't accept. Those are where we really start. I hope this has helped. Thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for you. I really appreciate you and for showing up here and listening. And like I said, I'm just so grateful for you. I am incredibly grateful. It's my, you know, optimistic side of things. Thank you again for being here. Take care and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye for now. Hello, it's Jody again. I'm just back quickly for a quick announcement. I have decided to do an Ask Me Anything podcast episode. So come join the conversation on loving me, myself, and life. Now, it's not going to be live. However, I am going to gather questions ahead of time and answer them for you. So if you have a question about self-love, personal growth, or just life in general, or maybe even have a personal question for me, this is your chance to deep dive into topics that matter to you. Seek advice or explore challenges that resonate with your personal experiences. So get something really, you know, something right directed to you. I'm not going to share full names or locations or anything. I'm going to keep it all, you know, so no one knows who you are, but you'll know who you are. And over the next month or so starting October 13th till November 30th, I will be gathering questions. Now, if you find this after November 30th, that's okay. Please send me your questions anyways, because if I get too many, I'll have to do this again. Not have to, but I want to. So send me your questions if you're like, oh man, I wish Jody would talk about this, or I wish I could hear about this. Please send me your questions because I want to do something for you. So please send me your questions today and let's explore the beauty of loving yourself and living authentically and creating a life you truly desire. So you just can go onto my website, jodymisiak.com, and go under contact and just fill out the form with your question. There'll be a link also with this description of this podcast episode. So please send away. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Bye for now.